Morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. Got a drippy start to the day, but hey, we're crews are getting in now and get organized and get out and try to get some work done today. Had a little bit of a wet start this morning, so that's what we're doing now, trying to get going a little bit. Looks like the sun's trying to peek out a little bit, so hopefully that'll all work out, and we'll be in good shape here shortly. So that's the plan. If you had one chance, one opportunity, would you take it? Or are you going to let it slip away? Well, we're going to try to take it today and see what we can get going and get done and accomplished, and go from there. I mean, that's about the best we can do. And didn't get a whole lot of rain this morning, but enough just to get things wet. So uh, we'll we're not going to complain yet about the rain, but it's supposed to be off and on rain all week long. So potentially, I mean, tomorrow's supposed to be dry in the morning and then rain later on in the afternoon. A little bit of heavier weather, potentially coming in tomorrow mid to late afternoon, and then raining pretty hard overnight. So we'll see how all that pans out. But hey, we'll do them one at a time. That's the only way we can do them. That's how we'll do them, and we'll get them done that way. So we'll do them one at a time and see what Mother Nature does for us. But hopefully you got better weather to get your week started than we got rocking around here. But like I said, it ain't the worst. It ain't the worst. But we're going to work with it. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. And if you had a chance to get out and do a little derby party, and if that's what you believe, or heck, if that's what you want to do or not do, whatever you want to do. But we had a good little derby party at the house this weekend and had fun. Wasn't a huge thing. I think there were about, I don't know, 10 or 11 of us there. And had a really good time, though. Really good time. We draw some horses out of just some pots we make up and draw them out of a cup for 3 jelly beans and an Easter rabbit or something. So it's always fun. Always fun. Want to give Daniel a big shout out on taking care of all that. He organized a ramrod at that and had all that ready to rock and roll. But Derby has come and gone, and for another year. So now we just have the regular push points for our business. But hey, before we get into all that, I want to give a big shout out to Turf Nerds today, and Eric and Jennifer Jones and Daniel on the pump station, getting us rocking and rolling. As always, so we got a new website. Check out our new website. It's absolutely awesome here on Turfs Up Radio. So turfsupradio.com. Check it out. The new look to it. Want to give big shout out to everybody that was involved in that. There was this quite a group. So looking good. So check that new website out. And I know Carissa and Courtney and I think Luke was involved in that for sure, and King Darren and probably a little bit of everybody. So big check it out. Let us know what you think about it. And good morning, Mike. Appreciate you listening, buddy. And hopefully you guys are able to get out and get some rock and roll going this morning. So that's what the plan is, and that's what we're going to do. So with that being said, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more Profit Time. For you guys that are old enough to remember this, it's one of those wide belt mowers. So nothing too exciting with it, but it's one of those wider belt mowers. So we put a little bit of money in it, the machine, to back it in there rocking and rolling. So we're going to see if we can make it happen, because we don't want to invest in a machine that we're got very limited hours on. And matter of fact, we've switched over a couple of ours over to those new 30-inch self-propelled mowers. Different brands are available out there. So pick your flavor on what you like on those, just from a cost standpoint. And, I'm of a firm believer, though. I mean, you just got to be very, it's not like we're looking for yards with gates, but it's more of some commercial facilities that have some trapped areas that we don't want to just weed eat. I know a lot of guys will do that, but you just get there's a fine line between what's too much and what's not enough weed eating, in a smaller area, and what's a better way of doing it, and you know, teach their own on that. But we get not a bad idea, Mike. That could certainly be a good thing. Seth and Doug, appreciate y'all listening this morning. Glad to get y'all's text and know you guys are out there with us today. Appreciate y'all listening in this morning. And hopefully you guys are off to a good start this morning. We got a little bit of sun doing its thing, poking out around here right now. So hopefully that rain's done and moved through. But anyways, yeah, we're just trying to decide what we need to do with that mower. So we might have it narrowed down to a belt now. So we'll see. I'll keep y'all posted on if we're throwing good money after bad or not here in this scenario. But we'll see. Yeah. That Mike said or Doug said, yeah, they replaced theirs with a Toro 30-inch mower as well, and that's exactly what we did, Doug. We got two of those now, and just seems like a better bet for us too. So it just the pain of just going ahead and pulling that 36. God, it's a button for you guys that remember button lawn equipment by chance. Yeah, it's a 36-inch button. That one of the first mowers. Um, Not one of the first mowers, but definitely it's got a lot of years on it. I'd have to look at the model, the VIN number on it, uh, the ID number to look at the year. But it's had several birthdays. Let's put it that way. But like I said, it's one of those pieces of equipment that didn't get a lot of hours, and so we'll see. I mean, maybe it's time to put it out the pasture too. So, but we do like those Toros, those 30-inch Toros, to say the least. And I'm glad they're working out nice for you. Uh, yeah, Doug said it's got to be 15, 20 years old. Every bit of it, Doug. Every bit of it. And it's probably just time to put it out the pasture. But we'll see. We'll see. Heck, somebody might have a need for it, but you never know. You never know. But what do you think, Daniel? Put it out the pasture, probably,
I guess
or see where we're at with it. We'll see what the world famous Jim out of Bluegrass tells us. But
that's true.
I don't know. We'll see. The motor's good. That's the thing. The motor's good. Transmission's good. So we
Sounds like we could at least build like a go kart with it.
yeah, use the motor for something else. Oh, Lordy. Doug, that's true. He said all the young guys out there, Daniel, when I talked about the Bunton brand, a lot of them don't even know what it is. He said, they're like, man, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So that used to be the brand, fellas. I ain't going to lie, man. I mean, that was, they made those, they were manufactured right here in Louisville, Kentucky, and that was the brand. I mean, man, you had a Bunton, you had something, I never will forget that aspect of that whole scenario. But yeah, you had something really nice going on if you had a Bunton lawnmower, and golly, and now, like I said, I mean, they're not even out there realistically. So, but anyways, we've all got different brands we like. You know, there's and there's a lot of good brands out there. That's the thing about it. Let's see. Let's see what Seth has got here. Be neat to clean it up and maybe keep it in the yeah, clean it up and leave it back in our shop just as a showpiece. Seth said so. There you go. I mean that's got some merit too potentially to think about how many times it's been up and down a trailer and how many yards it's been on over the course of time. Because I remember when 36-inch lawnmowers. I mean that was a big deal for us. I mean when you went from 22-inch Murrays to, something self-propelled, it was like, yeah, yeah. So again, telling my age, Doug, but hey, that's all right. That's not a bad thing. But hey, getting back to our new website here on Turfs Up Radio, be sure to go check it out. Turfs Up, turfsupradio.com. Check it out. Let us know what you think about it and give us your feedback on it. We uh, appreciate to hear it, see what you guys have to say about it. And hey, we were just trying to make it easier to look at, easier to navigate around and whatnot. So, uh, yeah, absolutely, Doug. We ran it through a cost sheet. That
Hmm.
was even back in the day, man. We've been using our cost sheets that long. Yeah,
That's when they were back when they were paper still.
yeah. That's when they were paper in the back of our bidding book. Yeah, which they still are in the back of our bidding book in paper. If a person wants to go that route with them, they can, or they can just do it easily on their computers, and let Excel do the work.
Hmm.
But hey, you still plugging the numbers in. But yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. The thought of one of the first mowers we had, because the first one we bought was a 32-inch self-propelled mower. So I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun. We'll go with that side of it. Time flies when you're having fun. So, anyways, there's Chad Harden. Oh Lordy, sun's out. You bring the sun with you? Nope. Oh my God, Daniel, talk a minute so I can tell Chad something real quick. His son's at school. He said, "Oh my
Oh,
God."
you were talking about the website, so I'll talk
Yeah,
about that for a few minutes here, just to remind everybody to check out the website, check out the wherever you find podcasts. Obviously, you're listening live right now, but maybe you are listening later. It's kind of a weird thing, you're talking to somebody live, but then 2 hours from now when it goes up, it's like they're listening later. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. Even on my own show, I kind of think about that. But wherever you find podcasts, just go search Turfs Up Radio. All the shows will come up for you there. Hit subscribe, leave us a rating and review. All that kind of stuff definitely helps us to continue to spread the word of Turfs Up Radio. And it's just very helpful, not just for us, but also for other people out there to find the stuff. So do that. Hit the notification bell. That's another thing you can do to stay up to date with what's going on. When the podcast goes up, you'll get a little notification wherever you're listening. So all that's good stuff. And then social media, we definitely appreciate any love you can give us on there, whether it's our page specifically, you're going to tag us, or just even sharing it with people that, maybe you're in a group with North Carolina lawn care pros or something like that. Just say, hey guys, go check out Turfs Up Radio. That definitely helps us out. So
absolutely.
plenty of ways to spread the good word, if you will.
Get it around town. So, but Doug, it's glad to have you back with us, man. Golly, been a minute since Doug's been chiming in with us. He's been rolling hot though up there in PA. Him and John rolling hot up there
Probably
in
rolling cold.
Pennsylvania. So
Probably rolling chilly.
yeah, might be.
A little cool up there from. Remember, wasn't it earlier on in March or April or something? They were talking about snow or something up there still.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, let us know, Doug. When was your last snow? It was I think a little later than normal. So they had a good year. I know Doug talked to us a couple times during the winter, and they were having a good season rolling through. So that's what it's all about, right? See what we can
yep.
do and get her done while we can, and hope for snow. It's funny. One of our subs brought their book back in today to us. We they have a physical binder with property locations and everything that needs to be in there. But Tom brought that back today, and he's like, "Well, I guess we're finished with this for the year."
Yep.
So I'd say it's a safe bet. You know,
6 months.
yeah, it started early for us though too, man. And we had a decent winter. Wasn't a record setter, but it was a decent winter. So yeah, Mother Nature was kind to us. Was a fat Doug says they had a high of 58 on Saturday. That's what ours was, man, like 58, 59. It was like the coldest derby since 1989 or something, they said. So, but then they had a low of 29. So, yeah, a little frost on the pumpkin maybe up there, but no pumpkins to have frost on them yet. So, frost on strawberries, apples,
Sure.
you know, something's growing right now.
Frost on the mountain.
Yeah, true that. But no, Daniel, I got a funny story I want to share with you guys, and Daniel too. Daniel has not heard this story. It happened to me yesterday. Katie and Holly and all of us, Daniel, we all got together for Derby, and so Holly had a company vehicle that she brought down here. Another girl that works with them was going to pick it up from Louisville, so I was told Holly I'd take her back home. She lives in Lexington. So we left yesterday to go home, Daniel,
Okay.
and we were going to stop and have breakfast at this place. And of course, I mean, Sunday morning breakfast is crazy everywhere, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, but so we end up moving to this, going to another place, trying it at. Um, and Doug says they had a little snow April 6th.
Mm.
So, anyways, yes, indeedy. But so, anyways, so we went somewhere else, waiting line, so we didn't wait. We're okay. So now at our third stop, it's this bagel place, and I cannot remember the name of it. But it was
Wasn't St. Matthews?
no, it was out off Shelbyville Road. Uh, uh, Bagels and something.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, and it was in like a little strip mall kind of thing, so it wasn't a freestanding brick and mortar. But anyway, we go in there. It's about 11 o'clock. It was still plenty breakfast time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't tell us, or they didn't have a sign up, but they were down to. They had French toast bagels and cinnamon bagels was all they had left.
I could see that with like a
How does how do you run out? And they're open till 2:30.
well, I think a lot of those more bakery style places, that's the vibe of it. That's kind of how it goes.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess so, but I mean, I told Holly it'd be like us running out of fertilizer or halfway through a round, or us running out of anything. I mean, how are you running out? And I guess that's really the real takeaway for Turfs Up Radio today, guys. Is why do you run out of anything? I mean,
I mean, I don't know why. I do think that, like I said, that's just a part of like that industry.
is it really?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter where I've been, whether it's here or anywhere. The bakery style place is really more so, especially the smaller you're talking, right? Like
Right.
maybe a franchise bakery,
Well,
like
I was going to say something about that.
maybe more employees, maybe more people in the background, but especially like the smaller, more locally owned, and maybe it's just two or three people that are in there. I think that's more so how it goes. And maybe it's like, okay, we get here at 4 a.m., we're cooking, we're doing the bagels, we're doing the muffins or whatever, you're making for your bakery.
So you think they're making them?
Oh, yeah. I think they're making them fresh. And so potentially part of the issue is, well, we got two people out here and there's not enough people back there to really do this process
Yeah.
right. So we make as much as.
Well, let me ask you this then, from a business perspective, would you, if you're in a situation like that now, like all of us here on Turfs Up Radio, I mean, some things we could run out of and get through, run out of mulch or run out of fertilizer. But, running out of ice melter would be a big problem. Okay. And I mean, I know we're not in snow season, but I mean, it's just comparing it industries to industries. But if you knew at 11 o'clock you were down to this, why not put a sign on the door, number one, hey, we're, we're all we got left is this and this, because
I mean, I
most
could see why you wouldn't do that personally.
because the guy that there were me and Holly, and then there was a group of four behind us that left too, and we ran into them at That one begins with a P. I can't think where they have the soup and the sandwiches and
Oh, Panera.
Panera. We went to Panera, which was like across the street from them, and uh, and of course they had plenty of everything over there.
Yeah.
But that's a national brand. They got somebody ordering and or making. They know what they got. But here's what Holly had this idea, and I think this would have been a really good idea. First of all, the guy on the register that told us, well, hey, we got all we got's this and this left. And Holly's like, well, there's all kinds of them right there, in this glass case. And he said, well, those are already sold.
Hmm.
So, and that was even okay if that's the way they do things. But here's was Holly's other idea. I would definitely give people out a coupon. She said they ought to be giving out a coupon. Hey,
You could
here's
do something like that.
here's a 10% off coupon. Hey, sorry, we're running short today. Here's a 10% coupon for your next visit.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a really good idea rather than because the guy that was telling us they were out, what he acted like he could care less. But the one of the I'm gonna call him a cook, wasn't really a cook, prepping sandwiches. He actually turned around and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry." To us, the whole group.
Hmm.
Sorry we're out of our most of our bagels.
Yeah.
You know, but so I guess the message and the takeaway on that was be a little bit apologetic, act like you care,
Yeah. And have a solution.
and have a solution.
Two parts there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when it comes to getting people in, that's, part of the potential upsell or like the potential you maybe initially you didn't think if somebody just said, well, they only have this, then you don't want it. But then if you go in and you see it and you smell it, maybe you do want it.
Maybe you do want it. Yeah, that's true.
Or you might just try it just for something to try. But, having some sort of solution like the 10% off or something like even say, hey, typically, by 11, we're running pretty low. But if you get here, try to get here closer to, even something like that, just a little tip, just a little like,
Yeah,
hey, I want you to experience it, so come around this time.
yeah. It's just something. And I mean, I was just curious what you guys do. You know,
We went to a bakery a couple of months ago now, down in the Highlands, at the end of the Highlands, and we went like right after work, so it was pretty much wiped out like this one was. But the person that was working there they did a really good job of that. They
just so
shared everything they had. Here's what we do
yeah.
have. Here's what we typically have. Here's what we have kind of for breakfast and for
Well,
lunch.
they're used to it.
Yeah.
They've got a plan for that. They've got
Yeah.
a script, if you will, on what happens when we run out. Doug says it's a little different industry with the bagels that are perishable.
Yeah.
Fertilizer's not, so it's easier to have plenty. And I agree with that. But let's look at the salt side. I mean, salt's a little more challenging to get, and again, just thinking of how we struggle, and I say we Wayne. I'll just use Wayne's Lawn Service. How we struggle sometimes figuring out, okay, how much is enough?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to material for de-icing, right?
Yeah.
Because you're ordering ahead so far,
Right.
and then you're okay. Well, now it's snowing, and what's the anticipated? You get all that scenario behind snow. We're not going to turn that
Yeah.
into that today, but Doug does make a very valid point that
And
you
there's a
know
lot of unknown, obviously, with the snow. How much is it going to snow? Whereas you would think with a bakery, you would be like, all right, well, we've been open for a couple of years. We know that people are,
yeah, we know we sell 30 of these on average a day, and 35 of those, and 27 of these, and
hmm
so I mean, I'm sure they got some kind of method to the madness
and
on
there's
what they're
probably a
making.
limitation as far as what they can even supply,
But
like as far as stocking wise, just for a
yeah,
given day. So that might be part of the limitations too.
yeah, and but I think Holly had the solution that would make that experience better, and what you said you've already ran into with one of those places where they had an answer,
Hmm.
not just, well, this is what we got. Do you want it or not? And that's pretty much what he said. You know, And that's when the other guy back did turn around and said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry, that we're short today." You
Yeah.
know, but I don't know. I just wanted to bring it out there and click that light on for everybody to just think about yourself and hey, what is it that you sell your customers on a regular basis, and what kind of solution do you have in play? I know there's been times when we couldn't get mulch in a timely fashion. So, I mean, we got very creative on what we did with mulch with our customers as far as, giving them an upgrade down or, a free upgrade up, or a downgrade and, hey, are you willing to, take this mulch? It's going to be this length of time for the others, is available. So just it goes back to the selling side of things of, you're always better off to give your customers a choice between something and something else. And I guess technically they did French toast or cinnamon chocolate, you know, but so I guess they did give a choice, but I don't know. I don't want to beat that horse too hard and I don't want to throw them under the bus, really. It's just at prior to 11 a.m., you would expect that somebody would have some type of. Now, if I'm then, I'm glad I'm out of those products, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad I'm out of them. I sold out of them, but when you got 6 people that we know of that walked out the door, I mean, their average ticket has to be $12. You
Yeah, I'd
know,
say probably pretty.
$12 to $15. You know, it's a lot of money walking out the door. But anyway, Doug, point well taken, though. Point well taken. So, with that being said, let's take a short break. In selling, the, one of the most important factors in selling, and we all know it, right, is to know your product and service, right? Know what you've got available, whether it's bagels or whether it's lawn care or landscaping, lighting. Doesn't matter what it is. You got to know what you've got. But what's even at least equally important and with your direct competitor, more important in my this is just my opinion. But you need to know what services they offer. What do they do? And why is that so important? That's what I want to talk a little bit about today. So basically, the point is in selling, it's important to know what you've got available. And I think we've all been around companies that they didn't know what they had available. So that you have your own product knowledge is important and service knowledge. But equally important is what do your direct competitors offer and why is that important? That's the real question. Why is it important to know what your competitor's doing? And I think it really boils down to a very simple answer. And I want to talk about it a little bit, but to me, the simple answer is you got to know what you do and why it's different and better than what they do. That's why, when you really got a great handle on what you do, but and your main, your 2 or 3 top competitors that are in your market. Well, then, not that you're criticizing what they do, but it's important to know what you do different and better than they do it. Whether it's maybe mowing is not their forte, or maybe landscaping, they say they do it, but it's not their forte, or lighting, or whatever it is. So that's where it's important that you understand a little bit from the sales perspective on what makes us different and better than our competitors. And it doesn't matter if you're a small company or a large company, there's advantages, disadvantages to both. So as a small company, you've got one model that you adhere to and you sell by. As you get a little bigger and you're scaling your company up, then there's a different model that you're going to sell with at that point in time. So your competition changes as you change, but the ability to understand and your responsibility to know what makes you different and better than them uh, doesn't change. You know, the who you're comparing yourself to and from will change based on as your company scales. But what doesn't change is the fact that whether you're a one truck operation or a true grain of the world or anything in between, that you understand that not only does the competition change as things change, but so do your responsibilities as the owner, manager, sales manager, whatever role you're playing for a company, right? Maybe you're wearing all those hats, which is quite likely, but know that that's got to change because the reality of it is if you don't understand what makes you different and better, then really what you're doing is just you're being another option. So don't just be another option, be a better choice. I think that's a fair way of saying that, don't you, Daniel?
Yeah.
Don't just be another option that's out there. Be a better choice. Know what makes you a better choice. And regardless of your company size or your market that you're in, you know, there's going to be choices and there's going to be better choices. And we all know that, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, better and worse and just different, like, is it better to work with a big company or a small company? It's different. Some people like one versus the other for the benefits that one has over the other. Is it better to work with a company that's focuses more on this or more on that? It just depends on what the customer wants. But the difference is or the key is you have to choose something, some area to stand out.
yeah,
You
what's
know,
going to be your differentiator?
if you don't have something that makes you different, like you're saying, then you're just another one.
And it doesn't have, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think our differentiator is we show up, or that's one of the main differentiators we have.
Right.
And we promote that we show up. We talked a little bit about that the other day, but when you say, hey, well, what makes you different and better than the other guys who've got trucks, trailers, lawnmowers, trimmers, blowers, and spray tanks? Well, we're all making tall grass short. We're all putting pretty little lines in it, you know. So
Or
what
maybe
makes
that is a something that is a differentiator. You do super crazy line designs.
yeah,
And there you go. Now you got a customer niche.
now
People that want that.
that's right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Mike says their goal is to solve problems, not create them. Yeah, you're problem solver. That's what a salesperson is. Somebody's got a problem, they got a need or a want. We're going to talk about that here in just a second, and how we're going to fix that for them. Fred's got hit on his. He says knowing what they do or have done to clients' homes also lets you know if it's a them problem or if the customer's the problem. And sometimes it can be a customer issue. I mean, the phone call I hate the most here, Fred and Daniel, is somebody that says, hey, I'd like to get an estimate for service, and I've already had 3 services or 4 services, because now I'm beginning to think that in 3 or 4 different services, you couldn't find somebody, that could do it the way you want it. Now, the answer to that may be, well, maybe not. So I'm not going to turn my eyes to that and say, well, hey, we're not interested in bidding on that or sending a proposal or whatnot. But certainly it kind of shoots up maybe not a red flag, but what would maybe a caution flag.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the yellow flag
Yeah. It's
or
their
whatever.
picking ability and why they're picking those companies to work with that is the red flag for your business. They
Right.
probably pick those companies honestly because they were the cheaper option. And if they're calling you and they still have the same criteria for picking and you're not the cheapest option, then that's something I think when you hear that, that's kind of one of those script things, right? Like, okay, well, what's my scripted response for someone who says they've worked with 3 or 4 companies already?
Yeah. What's my answer to that? What's my training response? What's my role play tell me to do, in that situation? Um, let's see what we got here. We got several texts. Let's see. Being timely will 100% make you different. Absolutely. From service to invoicing to return calls is what Mike said makes them difference, you know. And Fred's got a good point here. He says, but a good salesman wants to be the hero. You want to be the problem solver, right? That's it. I mean, and sometimes being the best salesperson is you telling your client no. And that took me a long time to really understand, guys. For you younger guys that are out there listening to me, don't think that, everybody that calls has to be a customer. It's almost this. I'm going to say it I'm going to say it in a way that I don't mean it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it that way because you'll understand it. When our phone rings or we get a lead coming through, our whatever it gets here through our website or whatever, paid ads, whatever, however it gets here, one of the first things we do is, excuse me, you can look at it one of two ways. What are we doing to disqualify the lead, or what are we doing to qualify the lead? In other words, is it in it? First question is an area that we service. That's number one, because we're not going to go all over the place. Not because fuel costs have went up, but because that's just our business model in the first place. You know, and we'll talk about that side of it in just a second. But the reality of it is, yeah, to Fred's point, you want to be remembered as the hero, kind of like Darren talks about being the landscape hero, right? I mean, be the problem solver for somebody. And first and foremost, sometimes the biggest problem you'll solve for them is letting them know you're not the right fit for them. You know, don't try to make everybody fit just because you've got room in a schedule, or, man, I think we can do this. And I'm not telling you to not be aggressive and not to diversify your services, but also know what you do and what you do well. Going back to how this whole conversation got started here today is, hey, what makes you different and better? That's that's the important thing, you know. And let's see what we got here. A salesman should be the bridge between applicator, service tech, to customers. So absolutely. I mean, that's just it. And sometimes you're the salesperson, you're the applicator, you're the complaint department. You wear a lot of different hats. So the hat differentiation, that could be a good selling point. You talk about, hey, what makes you different? I mean, that could certainly be a selling point to clients. I know I use that when it was just a couple of us here. Hey, Miss Smith, I'm the owner. I'm the owner operator. I'm going to be here on your property every week. So if there's a problem, it doesn't have to be passed along to anybody. That was how we made it smell, right? Goes back to selling the sizzle, not the steak. We made that smell good that way. Hey, you still haven't hired us, so you really haven't seen what we're going to do. But what we're trying to do is create a little bit of perceived value with that, and that's one way that you can do it as a smaller company, and you just spin it in the complete opposite direction as you scale and get bigger. That, hey, Miss Smith, I got all the respect in the world for smaller companies. Sounds like you've had problem with smaller companies. We're not going to call you and tell you we can't come because we had to stay home with our son or daughter that's sick. And I'm not, nothing wrong with that. Hell, we've all had to do it, right? But we're just putting scenarios in their mind. And I mean, and that's just one. Or hey, my truck's broke down, or my lawnmower's broke down, or my Z spray is not working, or whatever it may be. That's how you spin it as you begin to sell. So there it goes back to knowing what you do versus what your competitors are doing. And that's why I said also your competitors change as your company changes. So I appreciate all y'all's input on that. But no doubt the bottom line is
Don't just be an option, be a better choice for somebody. And because, there's different buyers out there. You guys know it. I know it. There's some people that are strictly buying on cost. There's some people are buying on value, and there's everything in between. So we try to focus our marketing after a certain different demographics, right? But when you look at the marketing side of it, before we even talk about the follow through side, you know, a lot of times, that cost buyer is, it's based on what competitors are charging. We'll throw that one out there first because that's the most common. Now, the other side of it is, you know, the consumer has been pre programmed in almost any market that I've ever been to, right? I mean, and maybe different where you're at specifically, but I've been to a lot of different markets across the United States and Canada. And the reality of it is, a lot of the consumers, the purchasers of our products and services, have been pre programmed by a group of contractors that don't know what they don't know. And I say that with all due respect, because I was that person for several years within my own business. And that's why I said also that your competition changes as your company grows and changes. And that's something, not to get confused with, you know. So very little perceived values involved in a cost buying customer. They want it. They want the quality. They want the great service, but when they go to a certain price level, then there's certain things that can't be followed through with in a lot of cases, and that is uh, proper service timing and potentially proper service quality due to overscheduling of the work because you're going that route on the pricing side of things. Now, if you've taken the time to calculate job cost and figure out your cost per hour, and you're just at a lower level, and that's where you want to be, and you want to go after that type of clientele, and you fit in that market, that's the key. You fit, but do you fit in that market? Do you want to fit in that market? Do you want to fit in the value market? The person that's willing to pay more. Answer's not always yes or no, hard fast. Well, hey, I'm going to start here, but I'm going to progress there. It's the transition sometime from one side to the other, because there are some programs out there that say, hey, you know, get them hooked in cheap and then raise their prices in 30 days or 60 days. Hey, this is what we need to go to. So, it depends on what your model is going to be, but knowing the difference between who you want to be from a cost selling standpoint or a value selling standpoint, personally for me, it made it a lot easier when we understood that we wanted to be a value selling customer. I don't know, Dana. What do you think? Easier to sell on cost or easier to sell on value?
I think it's
That could be an interesting
okay. I
topic.
think it's probably easier to sell on cost,
Yeah.
but that also comes with the caveat you said, are you, for one, let's just assume that the person selling on cost is selling at knowing their numbers and their,
Right.
at a very low but still profit margin. The problem with that then becomes if you're selling on cost, your competition is still people who are selling on cost, but they don't know their numbers, so they are willing to go lower
And
and
they're going to
lower and
push the
lower
number
and
even
lower.
lower. Yeah.
So you're competing against people who are selling the same thing you're selling, which is a low price, but they don't know when to stop.
Right. That's a very valid point. That's a
So
very
so I
valid
think
point.
yes, it's easier potentially to sell on cost, but it's also harder to sell on cost if you aren't the lowest.
And to create the loyalty on cost. Loyalty is going to be very
Yeah,
slim on cost buying clients.
right. And that's
You know,
just part of that model though. It's kind of the same model as Spectrum and AT&T, right? It's like they don't care if you stay for 1 month or 6 months. They just want you to sign up because they know that the next group of people that just left the other one are coming to them.
Yeah.
And they just jack the prices lower on their specials, and that's the same thing. Like they don't the lawn service, yes, they may not understand the whole psychology of that, but if they're getting 7 new customers to every 7 they're losing, to them it's like, okay, well, I didn't really lose anything.
Right. Yeah, they're maintaining a constant. So, but that's one way of looking at it too. So we've talked about, hey, be a better option. You know, don't just be another option, be a better choice. Yeah. Give your customers a better choice and know what makes you different and better. And then we do that through cost selling or value selling based on what side of that bridge, you're going to want to stay on. Where are you going to fish? What side of the bridge are you fishing off of? And that's really what it amounts to, But you do run into the concept, and this will kill your company faster than anything, is they won't do it, they won't pay it. That mindset, I mean, that's just something that you got to push out of your mind as a business owner. Is they won't do it, they won't pay it. How do you know if you didn't ask? And can you ask for a certain amount, regardless of what the service is, if you really don't understand the cost to provide the service? Kind of like Doug said earlier, hey, Wayne, did y'all run a cost sheet on that 36-inch more when you got it on the mirror? Absolutely. So what you got to do is get out of your mind the they won't do it, they won't pay it concept. First and foremost is figure out where your break even point's at. Know what your desired profit margin is for a given service in your market, whether it's mowing or fert and weed or lighting or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Figure out what that margin is going to be. That's when it becomes important to say, hey, well, what will the market bear? Well, the market's going to bear different things. I don't like right here in the city of Louisville, there's markets within the market. That's a fair good way of saying that, right? I mean, there's some customers, there's certain zip codes that we don't solicit landscape work or lighting work. Yes, are there people in those zip codes or in those areas that can afford it? Absolutely. But if we're going to do a higher ticketed item, we're going to target it to the income ranges and the home values of what traditionally our buyer where they're at. So it doesn't necessarily mean we exclude total zip codes, for an example, but we can dial into more demographical spending for somebody that fits the customer profile that we've developed. And that's something that I think we all need to get better at. Too many times we go in with that shotgun approach to our advertising and marketing, that boom, it just goes to everybody and let's just see what sticks, when you can do it a lot better than that. Seth said, what do you think has made WLS more profitable, cost or value? Value for sure. I mean, we were cost, we sold on cost to be competitive within our market for 9 years. Now we sell at the price we know we have to have as a minimum. And if we don't get the work, that's okay now. Where before, when we didn't know what we didn't know, well, we think, well, that man, okay, I wanted 40, but she's offering 38, or 37, and because that's all she's ever paid to anybody else. And well, I'll do it, not realizing that my break even point was 43.80. I'm just making numbers up. Okay. The point is, we got to pay attention and know what our bottom line is, not what the market's bottom line is, not what Miss Smith says it is or ABC company says it is. You got to know your own numbers. So, Seth, to answer your question, certainly we've made more profit dollars on value selling, but value selling only became possible for us when we knew where the bottom was at. Where's that break even point? And then how much margin do we want above and beyond the break even point? Or how much of that are we willing to reduce or share, if you will? That's about what it amounts to. When you reduce pricing, you're sharing your margin with the client. So that's something to look at too. And, because some customers need things and some customers want things, and that, Seth, that's funny that you just sent me that. That's what I just going into. There really are two types of buyers. When you really break it down, it's somebody that wants something or somebody needs something. Now, what you got to ask yourself, who's going to be the cost shopper and who's going to be the value shopper? Predominantly, in my experience, the person that needs something is going to be more cost conscious than somebody that wants something. Hey, you need a truck to pull a trailer around and your lawnmowers or your equipment, right? So you may be a little more conscious of what you're spending on a vehicle that's going to satisfy that need. Now, on the other hand, you want something nice to just drive around in. I think that's
the consumer. Yeah, the consumer definitely. It's like you want your house to be painted, so you get whoever to come do it, but you want a fancy new TV that's 4K OLED.
Yeah.
All the bells and whistles. But I think when it comes to like finding customers who want it, who want something, for it's like you dial into the area you want first, right? Like, okay, we know that our customers are kind of more so in this neighborhood or in this zip code or in this whatever. But, for people out there listening, how can they get to that dialed in on the next level of the finding the want within that specific area? Is it verbiage? What is it within like an ad campaign or within a mailer or within a flyer, whatever?
I think it's for us, what we found is the more personalized we can make the marketing piece to where it's written towards somebody. And that is like to your point, Daniel, it's verbiage within that marketing. We want you is more personable than looking for mowing accounts in your neighborhood. It's the same thing. We're looking for mowing accounts in XYZ neighborhood or zip code or spray accounts or lighting accounts, whatever they are. But you always want to make that marketing as much personable, I guess. What's the right verbiage on that?
Just as personable, yeah.
As personable, yeah, thanks. As personable as you can. Because again, it goes back to you understanding your clients. Know that some people buy because they need something. The little old lady on a fixed income needs to get her grass cut. She doesn't want somebody to do it. She needs to get it done because she can't. Nobody's there to do it for her. So she's going to be more conscientious in most cases. And I'm just using that as an example. But I think everybody gets the point of a cost shopper. Whereas somebody that's, likes going to the lake or likes golfing or they like fishing or they like, reading a book or whatever, they just don't want to have to mow their lawn or treat their lawn or do their mulch and hedge. Hey, they want their free time for them. Then they want something. So they're more apt to pay a little more for it to get a quality company that's going to provide a service for them on a regular basis and be dependable with the quality, not perfect, because none of us are perfect. But that person's going to be more willing to spend more than somebody that needs to have something done. And I quite honestly, and this is going to come out pretty harsh, but I'm going to just go ahead and say it because I think some of you guys need to make the same decision, realistically. But quite honestly, I got tired of trying to make everybody fit. You know, I was that business owner that tried to figure out, okay, how am I going to, man, I really feel sorry for that person. I really need to, help them. I need to, because that's our goal, right? Let's help people. We, that's what we're in business to do, to satisfy needs and wants. But at the other hand, we can't do it with customers, a whole lot of customers that just need. Now, there's certain things we all need, right? That they're not cost driven for some cases, but when it comes to lawn and landscaping work and lighting work, that is a want based service in a lot of cases, and you just got to position yourself to know who you're going to look for, know what makes you different and better. And something my dad used to say, Daniel, and then we're going to wrap our show up for the day on this. But Dad used to always say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink from a selling perspective. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I think we all get that. But I think here's the important part of that saying that he taught me. What are you doing to throw a little salt in the hay? And that's what I want you guys to think about today a little bit. What are you doing to throw a little salt in the hay? Meaning, what do you know about yourself? What do you know about your competitors, your competition, your competitor? Because you do have it. That's just a reality of any business. Now, you can segregate yourself apart, without a doubt. And that's why this whole thing got started when we said, hey, you got to know what you do and know what your competitors do and know what you do better than they do. Not to criticize them, but in a professional way, how do you let the consumers know that, hey, this is the advantages of hiring me versus hiring somebody else? And then that goes back to finding the customer. Are you looking for cost conscious customers, or you want to be a value selling? There's room for both. There really is room for both. Uh, Dad always taught me that, people selling on cost, he said, man, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, there's plenty of them out there, but the replacement of those customers is going to be more frequent. So then the customer acquisition cost is going to be a lot different. So even though it may take you into a different marketing program to attract and sell the value conscious customer that's willing to pay more, that wants something, the overall customer acquisition cost, because of their loyalty length of time with you, reduces the acquisition cost over time. So don't just look at, well, hey, man, I can just do this and keep replacing my customers, and I'm not spending hardly any money on marketing and advertising. But you are. It's your time, your effort to sell the job. Now go do the job, and now answer the complaints and deal with all that. And for not, thanks, Seth. Appreciate it. But bottom line, it breaks down to, and I'm going to hop off here because I'm a little bit late. But it really breaks down to knowing what do you do different, better than your competitor, and then relaying that message to your potential client without criticizing your competitor. And are you going after customers that need something or want something, and know that the person that wants it is always willing to pay more for it than the person that needs it. And it's up to you as the owner to paint that picture for the potential client. And that picture is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But your picture is the salt that you throw in the hay. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great day. And remember, profit is not a dirty word.